Hello, good evening. My name is Dr. Anastasia Ashi, and this evening I'm going to be talking about classroom preparation. Mastering the art of teaching is a critical skill in lecturing. It is characterized by enthusiasm, interest, clarity, eloquence, and interaction. Therefore, a faculty must be equipped with the skills necessary for effective and impactful teaching. To do this, a faculty must prepare in advance for classroom interaction, must prepare the lecture clearly and precisely, and endeavor to engage the whole class. The following tips are useful in preparing for class. Number one is prepare adequately. Preparing adequately requires visiting the classroom in advance, whether virtual or physical classroom. It is important to visit the classroom to familiarize oneself with classroom settings, audiovisual equipment, physical outlook, and so on. Having a backup plan. We all know that technology problems can negatively affect one's credibility. It is therefore necessary to have a backup plan to forestall technical difficulties. Preparing speaking notes that include a list of major points and key definitions. It is important to avoid reading from the scripts or computer or overhead projector so as to keep the students engaged and focused. Delivery reminders. Faculty should um, make up delivery reminders that include cues to remind oneself to smile intermittently and look at the class. Practicing your lecture to ensure that the materials available are appropriate for the available time. It is unprofessional to include too much material or talk too much without allowing questions or interactive participation from the students. Taking a bottle of water can help soothe dry or sore throat and helps you buy time before responding to students' questions. The next thing to do after this is to ensure that the lecture is structured clearly and precisely. Faculty should take time to explain the relationship of the present lecture with the previous lecture, briefly analyze points from the previous class, and end by introducing key points for the next class. You can also ask students to make connections between previous and present lectures. This helps in enhancing participation and understanding of the topics. The structure of the lecture should cover only few points at a time and avoid repeating course readings. There is no point um, organizing a lecture that you talk and talk and talk and so many points to grasp at the same time. It will be boring and students will lose concentration. So few points at a time helps. Faculty should rather focus more on elaborating on readings, using new examples and sample exercises. You as faculty should be observant to know when students show interest or when they are confused or when they lose interest or when they become bored so that you can adapt your lecture accordingly. The third level of effective classroom participation is to endeavor to engage the class, the entire class. One way of getting students fully engaged is to ask questions, such as raising their curiosity to predict findings of a study, instead of telling them information or this study reveal that or that. They can predict findings from studies based on what they have learned. Encourage students to move around a lot and talk to one another in between lectures. Create breaks and icebreakers in between the lecture. This will reduce boredom and motivate students as well as build confidence in them. Encourage the students to submit questions and incorporate answers into your next lecture. Some of them may not be able to speak out or tell their problems in class. You know, they may be shy or they may not want to hurt anyone or make the lecturer feel upset. They may not want to upset the lecturer or incite students. So they may not want to, they will not feel free to say their minds, you know. But when you encourage them to submit questions either online or you can have a box, a suggestion box where they can submit questions to you. And then you incorporate the answers in your next lecture. Also encourage students to provide feedback in written form and anonymously. This will help them to speak their minds. And when they speak their minds, it will help the faculty to adapt, organize himself properly, and make changes where necessary. You know, due to time constraints, I'm not going to go further. I'll rather stop here so that students can grasp or participants can grasp the little we have talked about. We've raised some points on classroom participation, classroom preparation, engaging the students so that you can have maximum participation from them. So I'm going to stop here for now. When we come back, we're going to be talking about more ways of classroom preparation and other skills necessary for effective classroom teaching. Thank you. See you next week.